Hi, my name is Deborah Spooner. Yeah, so I first became passionate about storytelling since I was a really little girl. When I was like 8 years old, I was writing stories on these notebooks, only on one side of the paper though, because that's just how I rolled. I was writing about my dog and my neighbors and how we went to this fanciful land and had this great adventure with dragons and talking unicorns and kings and stuff. So that's when my love of writing started. I've been writing as long as I can remember. Then, as time progressed, I continued to pursue writing, and I wrote for various publications. I was going to start this like girls magazine. Ended up writing for an existing girls magazine, and then wrote for the Fervor and Revolution. But I'd probably say the importance of storytelling has been really imprinted upon my heart for about the last 2 years when I actually created a book proposal and I brought it to a conference, and there I was introduced to the world of book publishing and all of that. And it really got impressed upon my heart of, okay, storytellers are necessary. People respond to story. It's when they can see it, when they can hear it, when they can feel like they're experiencing it through whatever creative form we use to convey it, whether it's through video or a picture or through a movie. People are moved by other people. It's relevant to them, it reaches them, and it really engages their heart. So that's when I started to see this, but then I wrestled with some of the hard parts of the story, and I'm like, okay, God, is this really worth it? Does this mean anything? Other people can do this. Why should I even keep trying? I should do something else. So it was hard for a while. But in about so that was for 1 year, but then about in the next year, and even in the past probably 6 months, as I've and from some of the classes I've been taking at school, it's especially last semester, the theme of it was story is key. One of my classes was a writing class that dealt with how you develop story in the hero's journey, and with Fogler and the different principles of that. And then in my video class, we talked about how we have to be crafters of incredible stories. Whether we have to find the story, we have to find a way to present it, and it can be engaging. But the main focus on that was not, okay, necessarily this camera angle or that, which they add to it so much, but it was like, okay, find this line of story that's going to compel people and do your best as excellent creators to convey this well to the audience. So through that and through the writing class, I've really been impressed with its story. I went to Urbana Missions Conference actually just this past Christmas break, where I was able to talk to somebody from World Venture again, and that was really, really fun to see them. But one of the books was even about how you use story in evangelizing and for advocacy. So stories have meant a lot in my life. They're what I remember. They're what I've always loved since being a small child, and they're continuing to shape my creative work, whether it's through writing, as it's been expanded into video more recently, and I'm sure it will continue in the future. So I love Jesus. Jesus is the best. I'm actually a pastor's kid, and I started. So yeah, my dad was a youth pastor, and then he became a senior pastor when he actually planted a church. So that's been an interesting situation. It's been really hard. I live in I'm going to school in St. Paul, Minnesota, but my home church and my family lives in Rockford, Illinois, where my dad started a church. Rockford has actually been rated as the third most miserable city outside of Detroit and Flint, Michigan. So there's that, and it's a place that really needs Jesus. So I've worked with the kids upstairs with my mom for ever since I was out of the kids program myself, and you'll hear stories of kids who they're just praying for their dad to get out of jail, or their parents are divorced and they just want to see their mom, or maybe their cousins and their moms are fighting and hitting each other, or even little kids in nursery when they play, they don't play like, hey, let's go dress up and make food in the kitchen. They play, my dad called the cops on your daddy and they're coming to get him, and that just kind of breaks your heart, but it's reality, and I'm so thankful for it. Coming to school has really made me even more thankful for what God's brought me through with that. So faith is a huge part. Ever since I was little, I read Do Hard Things when I was 12 because I wanted to be prepared. And then I actually reread it again when I was 16. And now I'm writing for their blog, but it's like, okay, God, we have this one life to live. You have called us to pick up our crosses daily and to follow you. You've called us to live on mission. So that's been something, even reading David Platt's book, Radical, it's like, okay, God, what does a radical life look like? How can I make it even more radical in the simple things, God? And help me to be okay with the season that you have me in now, and please continue to lead me and be faithful in the small things. So Jesus is where it's at. He is what it's about. And I for a while was debating, okay, do I want to use these writing and video and creative gifts? Do I want to use this for a secular organization? And I decided that for me, that's not where I feel called. I feel like I want to do something where I can explicitly combine these two things when faith is a huge part of faith is Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. So he's not just a part of my life, he's going to be my life. So I'm like, all right, Lord, I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's okay. It's actually super exciting not knowing. Honestly, I love that. So it's like, okay, God, I just have to take the next step with you. Just the next step. That's all you ask. And honestly, that's incredible because then you never know what he's going to bring. And he can do above and beyond what we ask or imagine. But that's something that I've been learning in a new way these last 6 months in particular, is that, all right, when I think of that verse, I think, if I think that I'm going to get a B on this project, then I'll get like an A plus or something. But he's shown me lately that no, sometimes it's maybe I think that this door is going to open or that this is where I'm heading, but he's going to do something that's not what I expected, and I would classify it as something externally worse than I expected. But then because he is sovereign and he understands all, he knew that that's not what I needed. He did above and beyond what I expected because he brought me to deeper levels of him, even if it was through ways that I wouldn't have chosen, that weren't what I expected and could be classified as worse. He was the one who knew and he provided. So that's been a really good lesson. It's like, all right, Lord, I have this desire to create content and to compel people, to ignite people to be catalyzed in their lives for Jesus too. If they can see stories and hear stories and get encouraged, then we can come along as a family of Christ, each bringing our unique gifts and our strength and be catalyzed to live as a body of Christ ought. So that when I hear a story and I get inspired, then maybe I'll be inspired to serve a little more, love a little more. And then maybe someone else is going to see this love and it's going to be like a domino effect. And then when we join together, everyone bringing their photography strengths or their hospitality strengths or anything like that, we can live as community, and that's where the power is. It's not about any individual. It's about the body of Christ and making him known, knowing him ourselves and going into all the world and making him known. So yeah, faith and story are vital in this day and age. They're so vital. From again, different things I've heard from social media lately, all these conferences, different blogs I've seen, different videos, different images, different. That's how people communicate. Even I'm taking a social media marketing class right now, and we keep talking about story is king, content is king. People want to connect. It's the relationships that matter, and you can use story visually and through words and through pictures to visually as in through film, to get such a clear way into other people's stories that can catalyze them. So, and what better thing to do this about than to do it about Jesus and to do it concerning people who are serving him. So, yeah, that's a little bit about my story with concerning stories and faith, and I hope I'm going to continue to follow where God leads, and I'm excited to see where that might be. So as far as my previous travel experience, I've been to Mongolia for a missions trip. That was a 10-day trip, and we stopped in China, and that was an insane trip. It was my first trip, and I actually went with my dad and 9 other people, and he's been on quite a few trips, and he said that was his worst one that he'd ever been on. So basically everything that could go wrong did go wrong, like our flights. Every flight was wrong. We got the flu, all sorts of things, but after that, it's like, okay, we got this. God's got this. It's good. So since then, I've been to the Dominican Republic twice. So again, my name's Deborah Spooner, and yeah, thank you.